Welcome back to LEGO Wars and the second annual end of year Grudge match special. This year has been the best yet in the arena for action, with 4 different champions across the main series and specials, and yet some machines still want more carnage, and who are we to stop them? With that said, let's get on with the first fight, and it's between the 2 undercutters of LEGO Wars in Annie and Hijinks. Both of these bots had disappointing campaigns this year, so they'll be determined to end the year and for the latter their LEGO Wars career on a win, so let's get stuck in.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So we have a battle of the 2 frightening undercutters, Hijinks and Annie. Oh, and Annie is not okay after that first shot. Not only has her face come off, but a good quarter of her spinning disc has been ripped away, courtesy of Hijinks. That will make Hijinks an instant favourite to win this fight from this point forwards. They're certainly on top as far as damage is concerned. Anyway, look at the face of Annie lying on the floor as it shakes around and rattles around trying to get that spinner back into play, and not too sure how effective it's going to be. Hijinks meanwhile has lost its back panel and I think has also lost part of its spinner. It has, look! In the centre of the arena there, a chunk of that bar spinner lays, and that means now that their spinner's also taken damage, and that means that they're also going to be rocking around and shaking around like a leaf in the wind. Annie, meanwhile, trying to bring that spinner into play. I'm not too sure how effective it's going to be, although it certainly seems to be spinning up better than Hijinks is at the moment. In comes Hijinks for another attack, though. Annie, I think, has lost one of her front stilts. Look, she's rocking around like a rodeo bull out there. Hijinks shaking like a leaf in the wind. This is the kind of thing we like to see in LEGO Wars. Carnage, destruction, yes, but also good fun and laughs being had all over the place. This is exactly what LEGO Wars is all about. The other of these 2 machines did too well in LEGO Wars Series 3, so it is good to see them both in the arena again. And I think Hijinks has actually lost all of its spinner now. It has, look! Which means surely now Annie's the favourite. At least they've got a working weapon, or at least a usable one at that. Annie trying to bring it in and do more damage. What tactics could Hijinks have now, I wonder? Maybe get the pit open and push Annie towards it? Not too sure. The Australian machine pushed into the pit button there. I know Annie hasn't done very well this year, but I'm sure she's made Ben from Team Panic proud. I certainly hope so. Hijinks getting the pit down. The pit is certainly working, at least in this fight. Not too sure if that's going to continue. Both these 2 machines have taken so much damage. And if I had to pick a winner out of these 2 at the moment, I honestly not too sure who I would go for. Both machines have been absolutely total as far as their weapon is concerned. But Hijinks getting a little bit too close to the pit for comfort. And surely it's only a matter of time until Annie can get Hijinks down the pit. What on earth are they doing? Come on, Annie, get on with it. The pit's right there. Come on, finally! Hijinks sits down, and Annie wins the Grudge match. Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. Exactly what LEGO Wars is about. Both robots absolutely totaling each other and themselves, I think. I think Hijinks actually did more damage to their weapon than Annie did, to be honest. Annie was by far the better driven machine overall, I think, and I think it was due to the weapon problems that Hijinks suffered, shook the drive about a little bit too much, because Hijinks didn't really seem to get into second gear in the latter half of that battle, and was eventually dumped down the pit by Annie.
An explosive start to our proceedings tonight, as even in defeat, Hijinks retires from LEGO Wars on a good fight. Next up is our former number 2 seeds Atlas taking on the 4 seeds from Series 2 Atlas. Wait, that can't be right!
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
In all the time that I've been doing this, I don't think I've been faced with such a difficult task. How am I supposed to commentate on this? So, Atlas. Circling around Atlas, both of them trying to find the weak spot on each other, which is very difficult to do with Atlas, both of them that is, because the big scoop offers such good protection at the front. But Atlas pushing Atlas back now and trying to lift it into the air using its scoop. Good tactic. It's a favourite tactic of Atlas, that is, which is probably why it won't really appreciate it being done to itself. And now, Atlas reversing, allowing Atlas out of the corner, maybe giving their opponent some breathing room. Now trying to get underneath again, and does so, pushing Atlas back again here. And once again towards the arena sidewall. Atlas, don't forget, has very, very good traction and good pushing power. Both of them, that is. Atlas once again being pinned in against the arena sidewall now, although Atlas didn't lift it up. That was a bit of a surprise. That is their main tactic, don't forget, to push them against sidewall and get that lifting scoop lifting. Atlas now backing away, but Atlas chasing them across the arena. Back underneath Atlas once again, pushing it into the pit button. Nothing happened on that attempt. Atlas now reversing into the pit button, and it does go down. So the pit is definitely working. Will we have it work for an entire episode? I'm not too sure. It might be a New Year's miracle, people. Oh, Atlas now, though, with a side on assault on Atlas, trying to get underneath those tracks, but Atlas managing to get away. Can Atlas get back into this fight now, I wonder? Pushing them back towards that back sidewall. Trundling along. Tracks grinding against the arena floor to gain purchase. But Atlas back underneath Atlas again. Trying to lift it into the air. Trying to pry at one of those tracks maybe. Lifting it into the air. But oh, other Atlas using a very, very good tactic there. Raising their scoop at the same time so they didn't really get lifted off the floor. So yes, very good tactics being used here between these two machines. They both know each other very well, of course. They know their own weaknesses. They know each other's weaknesses. Atlas once again underneath there. Oh, look at this now. Both robots bridging. And one of them plucked into the air and very nearly flicked over, but just landing back onto its tracks. I thought that was very nearly a win there for Atlas, and that would have been a shame for Atlas to have lost. I must admit, even though I'm biased with these two, I genuinely really wish this hadn't happened, but there we go. Atlas now, chasing down Atlas again, towards the pit. Will we see Atlas go down the pit, I wonder? No, Atlas just trundling around now. Oh! One of the tracks has just broke off of Atlas! How on earth did that happen? Well, that's an absolute game changer this late on in this fight now, because Atlas will surely be losing on damage, and that means Atlas might actually have a chance to come back into this one and win it. Also, of course, that means the pushing power is less, or does it? Because Atlas is still pushing Atlas backwards. There are only 7 seconds left. Sorry, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fight's over.
6.
Both robots bridging at the end. What a close fight that was. Very interesting battle, that one. Please, can we never see it again? Atlas and Atlas both circled around each other and tried to make the most of this situation, but neither really knew how to attack the other. Both Atlases got underneath each other several times. This, I think, was a very key moment, managing to get underneath Atlas, so nearly flicking it over, of course. But Atlas was able to land back, and then here's the other key moment. One of the tracks on Atlas snapping off. Will that mean the other Atlas gets the victory? I honestly have no clue. What a finish this was.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Mastiff. I mean Atlas. Well, that was just confusing. Anyway, moving swiftly along, we have a battle of the Big Wheel Boys and a first for LEGO Wars with a three-way rumble between Wilbur, Thwackanathan and the unused reserve from Series 3, Bolts.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, this should be a really good fight. Thwackanathan, Wilbur, we've seen them in this series of LEGO Wars, but a new machine in Bolts, a new robot from World of Woodrow. So that should be fun to see. I can't imagine what its inspiration comes from, but there we go. There's Wilbur with that undercutted bar spinner, taking off one of the hubcaps from Thwackanathan. Thwackanathan, of course, with that big thwacking arm with the circular saw on the end that does absolutely nothing, but we love it anyway because it's crazy and weird. Wilbur, meanwhile, a machine with a lot of potential and promise, but didn't quite live up to it. Oh! One of the little weights has come off of Bolts, which at this point in time has done absolutely nothing in this fight apart from spin on the spot madly. And I think I'm in love with this machine. It looks absolutely fantastic out there in the LEGO Wars arena. Wilbur with a little shove there. Oh, the face of Wilbur's come off now. This is an interesting situation because right behind where that face was is where the kill switches are. So that means Wilbur could very well be in trouble. This is also the first ever three-way rumble in LEGO Wars history. So we are witnessing LEGO Wars history here. I'm not really too sure if this was the wisest choice of robots, but hey, I'm glad we made it anyway because it's great stuff. I can't even keep up with the action here. It's complete chaos. Wilbur, meanwhile, trying to bring in that bar spinner and does so onto Bolts. Bolts going for the pit button. Down goes the pit, courtesy of Thwackanathan. A little bit better, a little bit more skilled and controlled in the arena. A bit more experience from them, perhaps. They made it to the round of 32 this series. Oh, the chains come off their saw, look. So they have a little bit of a whip now on the end of the robot, I guess. Oh, very close to the pit. Off comes the other weight from Bolts. What is happening out here? How can I keep up with this? This is insanity, and I absolutely love every minute of it. Thwackanathan trying to bring in their saw that won't work anymore. Wilbur bringing in that bar spinner. Wilbur would have to be the favourites despite not making the round of 32. They just missed out in the play-ins, unfortunately. Bolts has got one chain left. Wilbur going all over the place. Thwackenhutton smacking the floor, smacking the sidewall, smacking everything but the other two opponents, actually. Meanwhile, Bolt's trying to use that one chain he's got left standing. Oh, this is absolutely insane. I don't even know who's winning at this point, to be honest. I don't think we could even have a winner, can we? Has anything happened in this worthy of winning? I genuinely don't know. How would we judge this? Good thing I'm not a judge, really. Oh, Wilbur, what are you doing? Right on the edge of the pit. There's no way they're getting back from there now. Surely not. No. They are down and out thanks to Thwackenhutton, who themselves got a little bit too close to the pit. And I don't think are going to wait from there either. And that means Bolt's the newcomer of one. What? Oh, I'm going to bed. I think I may have my new favourite fight in LEGO Wars history. Bolts was just crazy, weird and silly the whole way through that, and to be honest, I'm glad they won. Thwackenhutton took damage to its weapon, tried to use it as an extra weapon, didn't really work out for them. Wilbur, for me, was the most competent machine out there. It did the most damage, was the most stable machine, took the least amount of damage from other robots, and then ended up in the pit courtesy of Thwackenhutton, who then threw themselves down there, giving Bolts a pretty easy win overall.
One day we'll remember to turn off that magnet that drags Wilbur into the pit. Bolts meanwhile lucks into a victory and we'll look forward to seeing them in Series 4. That fight has worked up my appetite though, and in good time for a breakfast brawl between Mr. Waffle and Talkie Toaster. Both of these machines helped liven up the action in their respective heats, so are almost certainly in for a tasty fight.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Well, I guess it's time for the battle we never knew we needed, but are glad we've got. As Talkie Toaster takes on Mr. Waffle, Mr. Waffle causing more damage to itself. There's a surprise. That bacon bar spinner, it may be frightening, it may be destructive, but let's be honest, it does more damage to itself than its opponents half the time, although it has done some damage to the Talkie Toaster, and again taking off one of the front wedges, and the tail has also come off of Talkie Toaster now. Talkie Toaster being pinned up off the floor by the spikes, getting away there. That was good evasive driving there by Talkie Toaster. How long will the piece of toast last, I wonder? And will it last long enough to go under that slice of bacon? Bacon toasties. Talkie Toaster has hit the pit button. Now its pushing power is 0, if I'm honest, so I'm not really too sure why they did that. Maybe they're feeling suicidal. Go on, throw yourselves in there. You can't take more damage, surely. Throw yourselves in there. It's either that or the lump hammer. Which one are you going to have, lads? Talkie Toaster backing away, trying to bring in that little lifter of theirs, which is also, what's the word I'm looking for here? Useless? Yeah, that'll do. Mr. Waffle trying to bring in that bacon bar spinner now. Talkie Toaster backing away. I'm not really sure what they're hoping to do. Turning around, now bringing the rear end in, hoping that's going to take some damage or at least withstand the punishment. And actually, by the evidence of that, it did so. Maybe that's a viable tactic for Talkie Toaster to use. Use your rear end or turn around and use your vulnerable end again, of course. Oh, and the lifting tongue has once again been dislodged. There's a surprise as Mr. Waffle now trying to bring that spinner in. Do serious damage to the sides of Talkie Toaster perhaps. Talkie Toaster trundling along though, it's still going. Remember, it took serious damage from White Hole in its heat and continued to the end of that fight. So fair enough, it is a very sturdily built robot, although the entire front's now being caved in. Now, can Mr. Waffle capitalise on the damage here, or are they going to throw themselves into the pit? No, they back away just in the right amount of time as Talkie Toaster's side panel starts coming loose. Oh, and Talkie Toaster have nearly thrown themselves in now. What on earth is going on here? Are both these robots suicidal? Talkie Toaster in the pit and Mr. Waffle winning, I think. Oh, I don't know what's going on anymore. I guess you could say that was the definition of a food fight, really. Talkie Toaster by far took the more damage there, having its front caved in and ripped away. Its tail came off. Its weaponry, despite trying to get to grips, didn't really work and ended up getting ripped off here, look, by that bacon bar spinner. It also started having its other front pieces ripped away and was then eventually sent down the pit.
Despite a spirited performance, the bacon was too much for Talkie as they sink into the pit. Next up is a fight amongst two fan favourites of BattleBots with Hypershock and Rusty. Neither machine has overly wowed the LEGO Wars scene over the last few years, with the latter's destruction being the major highlight, but they've justified a hex bug, so surely they can justify themselves in the arena.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
So I've been told the reason why this fight is taking place because these two machines are the latest two hex bugs that have been released. Well, I guess it's as good an excuse as any. Rusty has already lost a side panel and its back panel, but bringing down the hammer, Hypershock is actually working, which genuinely shocks me. I'm not too sure how well it worked in the heats. I can't remember that far back. I'm an old man. Rusty, meanwhile, has taken serious amounts of damage already, courtesy of that big vertical spinning weapon of Hypershock. Rusty now backing towards the pit button. Didn't get the pit down on that occasion, no. That hammer doesn't look very good, does it? But it is actually quite an effective weapon at times. Hypershock with a little bit of a love tap there. Not really too sure what they were hoping to do with that. Rusty now going for that pit button and does go for it. Hypershock for me on top at this moment in time, doing more damage to Rusty. One of the eyes of Rusty has come off as well. There's got a bit of a Cyclops out there. That is a sorry sight, isn't it? Poor Rusty. Every time it ends up in the arena, it gets absolutely mullered by a spinner. Hypershock. Oh, what is Rusty doing? What are they doing? Oh, they're okay. They're backing away now. Hypershock, meanwhile, somehow didn't capitalise on that situation, but does now, pushing Rusty down the pit. Well, that was certainly an extraordinary fight for sure. A battle for Hexbug's pride. That one, not really too sure how prideful it was in the end. Rusty took damage early on. Did try to cause damage with his hammer, but didn't manage to really do it effectively. Eventually losing more bits of armour and half of their face. They did get the pit down though, which was good attempt at aggression and control. But Hypershock eventually got them into the pit, and that was that.
Not the most spectacular fight in LEGO Wars history, but who knows, this may be a springboard for Hypershock to come good in Series 4. We've got more fighting now, with our new favourite boy Wilbur making a second appearance tonight against this year's runner-up Emulator in an all-Norwalk encounter.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Now this has potential to be a very fun, very exciting fight between two very scary spinners. Both of them LEGO renditions of Norwalk competitors, of course. Emulator of Emulsifier, and Wilbert, of course, representing Billy. And Billy, or Wilbert I should say, sorry, getting confused already, has lost his face. That means the important parts are exposed, but Emulator losing a track now. That is serious damage, but we know for a fact that Emulator can survive with just one track. We've seen it a few times this year, actually. But because of that damage there, I would say Wilbur are currently on top. So just to make up for it, Emulator now trying to cause damage to one of Wilbert's wheels. Has that affected the mobility? I'm not too sure. They just set their own face spinning across the arena there. I don't think that was intentional. There's the hat, don't forget, on Wilbert. Now, as far as the hat's concerned, they should be okay. The pit button pressed there by Wilbur, but it didn't go down in that attempt. Well, I guess it wasn't a New Year miracle after all. Goodness me, serious damage done there to Emulator. Their spinner has been absolutely mullered there, courtesy of Wilbur. That there, I think, could be decisive damage, although Wilbur has lost his hat. I hope that doesn't affect it too badly. Going for the pit again there now, Wilbur. Look at Emulator bouncing around like some sort of weird out-of-control washing machine. Oh no! Wilbert! The pit out of nowhere dropping! And Wilbur now in the pit! I don't believe my eyes! Wilbert! That is absolutely devastating! Emulator stealing a win from the jaws of defeat! How on earth did that happen? Wilbert! No! I am absolutely gutted there for Wilbur. As far as I'm concerned, they were winning that fight quite comfortably. They had Emulator's track off here, look. No problems taking that off. They also caused more damage to the machine, eventually managing to do serious damage to its spinner, but in doing so they lost their hat, and I think that cursed them in the end because, well, they had to hit the pit button and then the pit dropped out from underneath them.
It wouldn't be a LEGO Wars special without pit malfunction, would it? We've only got 2 fights left this year, so let's hope it can last a few more minutes as Crons and Cato take the stage. Both have had impressive underdog stories in the main series, and surely they'll put on a good display of those achievements.
activate.
So, a battle of the Beatles, sort of. It's Crons versus Cato Nemoidia. Now, not only is this a battle of two LEGO versions of two Beetleweights, but it's also an unofficial battle of the YouTubers, the Great Stapley versus Ryan of Spinnerproof. Both of them didn't perform too well, actually, in the battle of the YouTuber special. Both of them losing in round one, although Crons wasn't in that. Cato Nemoidia was, however. Represented the Great Stapley instead was Thwacker Nutton. Crons being pinned against him in a sidewall here by Cato Nemoidia, who is bringing down the swinging hammer and has done some serious damage actually there to the top of Crons. I think some of the LEGO paneling has come loose. That means the Eternals will be exposed. Oh, one of the front wedges has come off as well. That side panel looks loose as well, and all of a sudden Cato Nemoidia's axe, which, being honest, has not been the most destructive of weapons in the past, looking very effective. Meanwhile, Crons trying to bring in that 4-bar lifter, the UK's only 4-bar LEGO lifter. Don't forget that, of course. Even though it's from Sweden, apparently. I genuinely don't know. I just read these things in the script. Down comes the axe once again of Cato Nemoidia. I think both of us are locked together here now. We have to have an unstick. No, both of them seem to be okay. Crons trying to use that 4-wheel driver there to get Cato Nemoidia towards that gaping open pit. Though I'm not too sure if it's going to work for them. They're trundling a little bit here. For me, Cato Nemoidia, despite losing its back panel, are on top as far as damage is concerned, and aggression, and dare I say it, even control. Bit of a whitewash on their side at the moment. Crons hasn't really worked that well in this fight. They seem to be having a few control issues. They're barely trundling along. They keep fidgeting about, look. And they've been driving into sidewalls quite a few times. It's almost as if they don't have the right radio reception. And it's not quite doing what they want it to do. See, they're getting a little sudden burst of speed, and then it'll just trundle along again. This is definitely a problem we've seen Crons have in the past as well. It always seems to perform well in the opening moments of a fight, but for some reason the second the halfway point turns up, they're done for. They didn't even make it to the halfway point this time before they started having problems, and for me, this is definitely Cato Nemoidia's fight at the moment. They're just beating the living daylights out of them. It may look cute, pink and cuddly, but Crons for Cato Nemoidia for me, is actually a very underrated robot, but Crons now moving on, the entire side panel ripped away. Goodness me, and this is one of the most destructive fights we've seen, and it's Cato Nemoidia causing the damage. What is happening here? What on earth is going on? Bringing down the hammer one more time, pinning Crons into that corner. Can Crons get away from that corner? We're going to go to the judges, which actually surprised me. I thought Crons were done for very early on in this fight. But they are just going to make it to the judges, although I don't think it's going to take too long for them to make up their minds. For me, that was Cato Nemoidia all the way. Good performance. Well, as much as I hate to admit it, the big pink thing with the really annoying name actually won that one as far as I'm concerned. Yes, it's gone to the judges, but let's be honest, they absolutely pancaked Crons there. Crons were having radio problems all the way through that. Took serious damage from them, and when they weren't taking serious damage, they were a sitting duck getting their heads shoveled in by that big axe. For me, Crons were lucky not to get counted out here. It was dead for a long time, certainly. Cato Nemoidia for me has definitely won this one. Look at the damage.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Cato Nemoidia. Not quite the all Beetle brawl we were after, but another win for Cato, and it's the best it's looked coming out of the arena. And now all that remains is our final fight in the first proper grudge match of the special between two heavyweights of LEGO Wars in Panic Attack and Atlas. On both occasions last year they fought for tooth and nail, with the former international champs just edging the decision, so it's the Series 1 champs' chance to get revenge.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
And here we are, the final fight of the evening, and by far the one we've most been looking forward to. Panic Attack versus Atlas. These two machines have fought twice in the past. Atlas won it both times. Panic Attack want revenge. They want to get a win, but Atlas underneath Panic Attack, lifting it into the air straight away and pushing it towards the sidewall, but Panic Attack getting away and now reversing into Atlas. Both these two machines always seem to have a good fight against each other, and I think we're definitely due for one here as Atlas once again underneath the side of Panic Attack and pinning it into the sidewall, lifting it into the air. We've seen them do this to Panic Attack in the past. They've nearly flipped them before, but they've never managed to. Can they do it here? Can Atlas make it a hat trick, or will Panic Attack come back and get a win? Don't forget, Panic Attack themselves lost a grudge match in the main competition of LEGO Wars this year. They beat Petunia twice in the past, and Petunia came back and, with a vengeance, absolutely annihilated them. It was a judge's decision, yes, but beat them fair and square in the round of 16 in Series 3 of LEGO Wars this year. Panic Attack now trying to get into those tracks, and I think has managed to, yes! That's the tactic they've tried to do against Atlas in the past. They've never managed to do it, and they finally have. They've got the forks into the tracks. They've hit the pit release button. This is vintage Panic Attack, and now all it will take, I'm sure, is a little bit of negotiation, and Atlas will be down the pit if Panic Attack can get them down there. They can! What a win for Panic Attack. They finally get their revenge. Well, that makes up for their previously mentioned loss to Petunia. Atlas did give it a good go and really were close to getting that hat-trick. I thought they had Panic Attack beat here. I thought they were going to finally get them over, but Panic Attack landed back on their wheels and came back with a serious vengeance, getting underneath Atlas, pinning them against the sidewall, and then eventually getting a hold of those tracks perfectly with the lifting forks, going for the pit release button, and dumping them down the pit after a little bit of effort. Well done, Panic Attack, for your victory.
An excellent fight there as at long last Panic Attack turns the tables on Atlas. And that, my friends, is it for LEGO Wars in 2022. After 205 fights across Series 3 and the specials, the arena falls silent as the robots rested various pieces. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody who has helped out this year to make 2022 the best year for LEGO Wars yet. For one last time this year, I've been your host, David of Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.